Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me. Here's what we've got coming up in this video. We've got a RAILKIng Wagon. It's a flat car with some log loads and it's in G-Scale, ideally suited for garden railways. And we're going to take a look at this today. So this is another one of my second-hand purchases. RAILKIng isn't a brand I've heard of before. It's maybe an American brand. I think this is an American wagon. And although this is second-hand, it looks like it's complete. It comes in this box, which I think isn't the best design in the world. I've seen better looking boxes than this. But it is quite interesting because it says things on it like attractively decorated. I don't really know what that means, but it does have metal wheels and axles, which is great. And it includes knuckle and hook and loop couplers as well. And it's designed to be used either indoors or outdoors at a gauge of 132. So that's G gauge for us here in the UK and Europe. As is usual in these videos, I put an HO scale beer wagon in front of the box so you can see how big these are. This might be my new measurement scale for all sorts of things, how fast cars go, how big the earth is, measured in beer wagons from now on in my mind. But anyway, you can see how big this box is. And the box itself is fair and not too bad. It's got some bashes down the side and the plastic for the window is torn a little bit. I've not had this model out of the box yet, so we're going to open this up together and see what we've got. I did put it down here and notice it was rattling a little bit, so I'm thinking there's some repairs going to be needing done. But let's get this out of the box and take a look. So here we have it out of the box. So we've got a pile of plastic logs, a few of these stanchions which have fallen off, and the wagon itself, and it does look a bit dirty at the back there. I'm going to give that a clean. I'll just clean it at the moment with some water and kitchen roll. So as often the case with garden railway items, they can get really dirty, but the good news is that cleaned up really quickly, so there's nothing major on it, and now we can have a look at the wagon properly. So here we have the wagon now that we've given it a clean. It's not a particularly heavy wagon, but it is quite large, so I might be wobbling about a little bit when I'm trying to show you this. I hope that doesn't distract from the video, but anyway, let's start from this end of the wagon. You can see it has NYC and the running number 481134 on the end of the wagon here. So yes, it is indeed an American wagon, NYC being New York Central. And you can see it has this coupling here fitted on this end of the wagon. This is typical of other European G-scale wagons and locomotives. It has this kind of coupling. I noticed when I was taking this out the box, it has a knuckle coupling on the other end, which is more typical with American garden railways. So maybe this has been used to convert between American and maybe European. But anyway, it has this coupling here with the automatic uncoupler underneath. You can see it's still got some dirt here, even though I gave it a clean, but it's not too bad overall. I don't see any damage so far. But we've got this little step here, a nice little handrail moulded in here, and additional wording printed on the side here. And you can obviously see the trucks and these wheels. Now the wheels look really good. There's hardly any dirt on them at all, and they are very free running. One of the things I really like about these bogies is that they are sprung. They have 3 springs on each side, and it does actually have suspension, so that can move up and down. So that's really quite nice. Moving further down the wagon, you can see the large NYC and the running number here, and another set of numbers here as well on the wagon. And here we have New York Central System logo, and then a couple more printed numbers and words until you get to this end of the wagon. Again, the same bogie and wheel setup and the sprung bogies as well with suspensions. That's really cool. They do have brake blocks that you can see there, but they're not actually in line with the tread of the wheels. So that's a bit of a shame that that doesn't happen. I would have expected that on something of this scale. But nevertheless, this is a convincing looking bogie and very nice wheels, like I've said already. And here on this end, you can see that it's been fitted with this knuckle coupler. Now this is meant to close here and lock into place, and then this little lever here unlocks it. But this one seems to be broken. It doesn't lock into place. So I'm either going to have to replace that or try and repair this coupler. You can see here there is the brake wheel molded in here. So this looks like a piece of plastic on a metal shaft there, which is added into the plastic of the main deck. Talking of which, up here there's a really good representation of the wooden planks, each one with a rivet holding it in, and also other holes on the top of the deck here. And this wood effect runs the whole length of the deck. So looking underneath, so first of all with these bogies you can see that they're held on with a screw, but they've got other little pieces here, so maybe these bogie designs are used for other models as well. You can also see that the deck is screwed firmly to the chassis here, and in other locations around the bottom of the deck. There's some really good representation here of brake gear which has been added on, and these ribs underneath the wagon are really quite nicely done. There's a lot of detail here, and even down to the rivet details along the centre bracing bars here and down the edges of the decking on the side there. So this is a really nicely detailed wagon. Even though it's just a flat car, there's been a lot of attention to detail and extra parts moulded in here, which really make it quite a nice looking wagon. So we do have this pile of stanchions which should be in these little holes down the deck. So I'm just going to put them in there and give you the effect of what this looks like with all these stanchions in place. So it took me a little while there to figure out how these stanchions go in. I think that's the way they go in. They don't go into every single hole, or if they are meant to do that, then I don't have enough. But I do have two left over. I've got one standard length one, and then I've got this one. Now, I think this one has actually been broken at some point, but it does look different to the rest, so I don't actually know where that goes. Maybe it's something underneath. It has some rivet detail on it along here. So I'm going to put this to one side and then see if we can figure out where it goes in a minute. But there is this mystery about why we've got only one left when I've put them in an even spread here. So I'm just going to put this to one side for now. So let's go ahead and look at this fake wood now. So each of these plastic wood pieces has been moulded very well. It does look really effective, like it is a real log. It even has the rings in the end here, although it looks maybe more like a wrap rather than a tree because, you know, the rings aren't that close together. There is a moulding line running down the side of the wood here and also across each end. So it's not a brilliant moulding, this one, but it's certainly convincing enough, and the paintwork on it makes it have enough variation to be convincing, certainly from a distance. You can see as well, this thinner one is longer than the thicker one. So that's quite nice that they've done some variation there and they're not all just identical pieces of plastic. So let's put the load onto the wagon and see what it looks like. So now that we've got the wagon loaded up with its fake logs of wood, it does actually look really quite cool, very convincing, and I think this would look really great on your garden railway running around in a train, especially if there's more than one of these as well. And these logs do seem quite secure now that I've got them in with these stanchions in place. So I don't think they're going to fall out in normal use, but I can see why somebody would want to maybe put some glue on these and hold them down, or make use of some of these extra holes here where we don't have stanchions to put some string or some chain around to make it look more convincing and also keep those logs in place. So let me show you once more just the size difference between this wagon and an HO beer wagon. So you can see that there's quite a difference. So there's a lot of potential with this G-Scale wagon to haul different types of things, not just these logs. You could put a couple of real beers on that wagon and it would carry them quite happily. So overall, this flat car from RAILKING is quite an interesting and well done wagon. It's so tempting with a flat car not to put a lot of detail into it, but I think RAILKING have put enough detail into this one, and especially underneath, to make it really convincing and an appealing model. Some of the things I really like on this are the metal wheels, which are really quite cool, and also the suspension on the bogies, which is fantastic with the springs on it. The wood load that is included with this wagon is alright. They're convincing enough from a distance, but as you get closer to them, you can see that they're not that great a moulding. So you might want to change those, maybe even for real logs, which would be really quite nice to add on to this wagon. I think they'd probably need something like a chain or something like that to hold them to this wagon to get it round your railway, especially if you've got uneven track or you've got some plants overhanging onto your railway and it might knock these plastic logs off the wagon and cause a bit of an accident. The wagon has an opportunity, I think, to move the stanchions around, but I think they could get very easily lost. It's good that they can be removed because then you can replace them if you break them, but you're going to have to be careful not to lose them. But if you do, then you might have to look to something like your 3D printer to make some new ones. So this particular one, I'm not quite sure how old it is. Like I said, it is second hand, but it has fared really well, and I think that's testament to the build quality and the plastics used here, that it hasn't had any damage even though it's been used outside. So if your garden railway has an American theme, then I think this is a great model to add to your collection. It has a lot of opportunity to carry different loads, not just these logs, and it looks really good, and it's been well moulded, nicely presented, and it's got nice graphics on it. So you might have to look somewhere like eBay to pick up one of these, but if you do see one for sale, I think you should definitely get it. So I hope you found this video useful. Let me know what you thought of my analysis in the comments below, and if you wouldn't mind liking this video, it really helps my channel. You can subscribe for more G-Scale reviews and other railway related videos. But that's it for today. See you in the next one.